Welcome, friends,
to the How To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is your first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields.
We're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you'd better make the most of it.
Tally-ho!
Uncles,
Hello.
Welcome.
thank you. I feel welcome.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You've never said that before.
Welcome everyone to the show.
Welcome you.
Thank you. Oh, this is turning into a great day.
It's a three-way welcome. It's like a Mexican standoff
It's a devil's triangle of welcome.
of hospitality.
Hey, so we're going to do a show today.
We sure are, buddy.
And you're going to start us off, I do believe,
Talking about somebody's
Uncle Mark.
mother.
Yeah, exactly. The mother of all assholes.
Yes, the bad mama.
And then I'm going to hammer home some good news.
You are the good news. And then we're going now, gentlemen. As our listeners who have been paying attention already know,
Yes.
we are trying to do our part in the world.
Yes.
We want to give, and the thing that we've decided is that all of the money that we make from this show for this month, we're going to donate 20% of it to the FFRF.
The FFRF, the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
That's right. And lest we expect our listeners to just take our word for it that they're good, we're going to have Patrick Elliot, a senior
legal counsel, I believe.
for these guys to come on and chat with us about what all it is that they do over yonder.
Yeah, all the nativity scenes that they kick to the curb. So
That's right.
How they're just bullies to the Christians.
Horrible bullies, the good Christians.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be a fun show. Should we just do it?
Let's jump in, and remember you can donate through the Patreon link on our website.
Oh, that's true.
And again, we keep some of that dosh, but we give a nice little piece to our friends in freezing Madison, Wisconsin, to fight the good fight of keeping the church out of your state.
And the website is howtoheretic.com. That's pretty easy to remember, right?
Yeah.
How to Heretic. Yeah. And yeah, let's get on with the show.
Woohoo!
Uncle Dan.
What? What do you want?
Sometimes on the show there's some idols of human worship that we like to take down a peg.
And some of those idols are humans themselves.
Yep.
And boy, do we, there's nothing finer than taking a symbol of goodness and love and light and human kindness and just shitting all over it.
Just take a big drippy shit on it.
So
big tandoori shit on it.
We've brought in Uncle Mark to do just that. Uncle Mark, who are you dropping your turd on today?
Well, this is going to be a good one. So, part of our prime directive here on the show, fellas, is that
is ruining things for people.
Pretty much, right? I mean, we encourage people and ourselves to hold things up to the light and give them a hard look.
Yeah.
And especially things that we've been taught to consider as, like settled morality.
Right.
So today, I want to talk about a perfect example of, and I'm using audio air quotes, settled morality, and see how easily something we've all been taught to take for granted as good can maybe be shown not to be.
What? Impossible.
So, and this is...
Are you going after Scotch tape?
I'm going after Scott Baio.
Or scot-free.
And his Scotch tape consumption.
Right.
I think that has become a crisis. So
it's a problem.
So there is something about the cult of Jesus that is so deranging and so disfiguring to some people that if I live 1,000 years, I will never understand it. So, this weird, shambolic, but on balance, decent story of love, turning the other cheek, service and kindness to the least of these, it seems to inspire so much barbarity.
Yeah.
Like in the medieval Inquisitions or the 16th and 17th century colonial conquests and the slave trade, to now where we see so much delight in seeing the unfortunate suffer and become even less fortunate, like in modern American conservative Christianity.
Right.
Or the sort of straight-up sadistic suffering kink of people like today's subject. And today's subject is a familiar name to everyone, Agnes Boyaciu.
Oh, yeah.
Old Agnes.
Old Agnes Boyaciu, who was born in 1910 in a part of the now-deceased Ottoman Empire that we know as Albania. Beautiful weather. But we really know Agnes Boyaciu by her S&M dungeon name, Mother Teresa. Or more formally, the newly sainted Teresa of Calcutta.
Yeah.
So Teresa has become synonymous even far outside the Catholic sphere with goodness and selflessness and sacrifice. But as we'll discuss, the only one of those words that really applies to her is the last one. So,
yeah. She's you know what? I'm going to regale you with a quick thing, because just yesterday I was watching some old footage of a TV show where Michael Palin and John Cleese from Monty Python went onto a TV show. This was just after the release of Life of Brian.
is this when they're talking
exactly
to
what you're talking about.
an Anglican bishop or something?
Yeah. And they were sort of in this awful debate, and you know, the bishop that they were talking to, and some other guy, I don't remember what his position was, could not for the life of them understand what the Pythons were trying to do, and what
With the Life of Brian.
with the Life of Brian. And one of the things that they talked about, and both of them mentioned this, was how much that movie would have hurt the feelings of Mother Teresa. They said it so many times.
I did a spit take on
You
the
did
microphone.
do a spit take because this is how important she is to the world. Now, this is not a Catholic priest. This was an Anglican bishop.
Right.
But you would hurt Mother Teresa's feelings so deeply because she loved the Lord Jesus so much.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, that Anglican bishop was wearing a gold cross around his neck that must have weighed 12 pounds.
Yeah.
That could have fed all of the kids of Calcutta for a decade.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
So that is the level of saintitude.
Yep.
Yeah.
Long before she was canonized.
Yeah,
that this woman had about her.
She's so in the bloodstream as the paragon of goodness.
Yeah.
Right.
And so let's discuss that paragon of goodness a little bit. So, this obscure Albanian weirdo made her way to India via Ireland, actually. In 1929.
That's the wrong way to go.
Yeah, you got to go west to get east.
That's a long way.
Where she was actually on the Santa Maria. She took the long way
They
around.
dropped her off in Ireland.
So she took her vows in 1929 and taught at various schools until 1946, when she felt called to serve the poor in Calcutta whilst living among them.
That sounds nice.
Nothing wrong with that. So at the time, Calcutta was experiencing a crisis because there had been a huge famine in Bengal. And then the outbreak of interreligious violence in the region began because this was right before the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947.
Right.
So and Calcutta is kind of right on the borderlands there with Bangladesh and India. So good for her. And so with only a few weeks of medical training, so basically none, she set up the first of what she would call her Houses of the Dying, her term,
Nice.
in 1948. Simply put, these repurposed buildings, and most of them were just warehouses, were not really hospitals. They were places where the impoverished sick were given a cot and allowed to die with, at best, minimal medical care and almost no pain management of any kind. So,
Well, she really needed help with the marketing side of her business, didn't she?
No, she did not.
The marketing side was the only thing that actually fucking worked. So if you don't believe me, believe the editor of the highly respected medical journal, The Lancet, Dr. Robin Fox. And when Fox visited her Calcutta death houses in 1994, the death house thing just kills me. I mean, that's
94?
in 1994.
That late in the game.
He noted the misprescribing of what paltry drugs they had, no real diagnostic program at all, meaning even if someone got drugs, who the fuck knew if they were the right ones?
Right.
There was no lab to run even the simplest blood tests, etc. He said, Mother Teresa prefers providence to planning. Her rules are designed to prevent any drift towards materialism. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, well, you don't want a materialistic...
I mean, if you define materialism as I would like to remain alive or at very least not die in agony,
You
please,
selfish brat.
then sure, she was determined to prevent that. So if you don't believe him, maybe believe Mary Loudon, who volunteered in the Calcutta death houses for some time and knew them well. She describes the places looking like photos of liberated concentration camps after World War II.
Jesus.
She saw non-trained nuns acting as nurses, washing dull IV needles under tap water in order to reuse them.
Jesus.
And a lack of pain medication beyond aspirin. In another room, her boyfriend, who was also volunteering there, was hopelessly tending a sick 15-year-old boy. It was very important to Mother Teresa that the women die separately from the men.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's just manners.
Right.
So he was attending this sick 15-year-old kid who had a simple kidney issue that had gotten much worse in the death house. She asked the staff why they wouldn't take him to the hospital for emergency surgery. She said, all you have to do is get a cab, take him to the nearest hospital and demand he get treatment. Get him an operation. Her boyfriend replied, they don't do it. They won't do it. If they do it for one, they'll do it for everybody. And she said, but this kid is 15.
Yeah. This was, I mean,
and he just died.
When you say house for the dying, it sounds like a nice place where someone who is terminally ill can convalesce until the end of their dying day.
Shady Meadows sounds like a place where you go for your dying day.
Well, yeah.
The House of the Dying sounds exactly like.
Well,
what it is.
no, you're right. It sounds more like a Game of Thrones.
Imagine the family having to write the hospice check. Okay, so that's House of the Dying. So, by the way, I'm relying heavily on Christopher Hitchens' amazing expose here called "The Missionary Position," as well as a BBC documentary that he contributed to called "Hell's Angel," both of which I highly recommend anyone wanting more info on this. But there are also plenty of other corroborating sources for the conditions in her houses of the dying.
Like she had, and you're saying houses because it wasn't just like one little tent.
By the time of her own death, which we'll talk about, they were in over 100 countries.
Oh my God!
And they even have penetration into the United States, where they, there is certainly a super poor indigent population here to take advantage of, but mostly she was focused on shaming houses where men with AIDS specifically died. And,
good.
So we're basically just kind of shamed every day.
So at least they made some ailing gay men feel bad in their final days. That's nice.
I mean, what's the point of being Catholic?
But so basically, her shtick was they're not dying on the street. They're loved in their final moments. I mean,
so Calcutta.
What's the actual pitch for her?
Well, I'll kind of get to it, but the pitch is she wasn't interested in fixing poverty or alleviating pain, right? And so where was she going to go where there's enough raw material for this kind of sadism? Not Belgium, right? She's got to go to a place with a massive refugee crisis,
right,
where there's an enormous amount of homelessness and institutional, generational poverty.
Right.
So you go to Calcutta. If you want sick, poor people, you go to where the sick, poor people are.
I guess what I was asking is, what is she saying? Because I know that she had millions of donors who were giving just gobs of money.
Yeah.
What is she saying to them that she's doing? What are they believing?
I'll continue. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So like this 15-year-old kid who died of Catholic torture fetishization, former sisters in Teresa's own order, the Missionaries of Charity, have described not only needless suffering among the truly terminal, but careless and stupid practices like failing to segregate people with tuberculosis.
Oh, my God.
Therefore dooming all without it to potentially contracting it.
Right.
Among countless other malpractices. They also were instructed to either coerce or secretly perform Catholic baptism on all patients. Most of whom had lived and planned to die as Muslims or Hindus, right? In that region.
What are you doing with the water there? What are you sprinkling me with?
Honestly,
right
so for the unwilling, a nun would pretend to be wiping the forehead with a damp cloth.
God damn it!
While quietly praying.
You piece of shit!
You're fucking with them in this life.
Wait, a nun can baptize you? I thought a priest had to.
Apparently, I guess if it's
if they're not willing, the Lord will take what he can get.
When in Calcutta, so you're fucking him in this life, you might as well fuck him in the next as well.
Sure.
And a small but fun decorating idea for any psychopathic sadists out there, her morgues had a cheerful little sign hanging in them that read, "I'm going to heaven today."
Aw, she's saving them.
Fucking crazy.
You replaced the one that said 0 days since.
It's so funny because it's that, like every Christian child and probably most religious children who believe in who are taught about a better afterlife.
Yeah.
Every single one of us had that moment where we go, well, why don't we just kill everybody then?
Right. Why don't we kill ourselves and go? So then, of course,
but then somebody like gets mad at you and smacks you and says, "Don't talk like that," and then you just know that you're not allowed to think.
Well,
that
then they say
anymore.
it's murder, so
right.
you can't. You
right,
go to hell.
or whatever. But she clearly she just took that all the way.
Yeah,
she took that.
I'm not going to kill them. I'm just going to let them die slowly.
Right.
So I think we can begin to glean a little of the bizarre derangement I mentioned in the beginning that the cult of Jesus has on those already predisposed to sadism. Here's a cute anecdote from Teresa herself, told, I guess, as a folksy laugh about an exchange she had with a person in her care dying agonizingly from advanced cancer. She told him, "You are suffering like Christ on the cross, so Jesus must be kissing you." Yeah. He replied, "Then please tell him to stop kissing me." She was smiling all the while in this retelling.
God.
And as you mentioned before, you're talking about the money, and before anybody says, they were poor nuns in Calcutta with little to work with, leave them alone. Former members of the order opened and deposited donors' checks that over time added up to tens of millions, possibly hundreds of millions of dollars that just sat uselessly accumulating in the order's bank accounts. So there was beyond plenty of money to deal with the suffering, but that was never the point.
Right. She didn't believe in treating the sufferer.
No, Teresa did not get into the nun business to alleviate pain and poverty. She rather chose to celebrate it. To glory in the gift Christ gave the poor of knowing his pain. So,
she genuinely believed that. Like that,
yes.
You're not making that up.
No,
it's you read the Hitchens book, and it's like it's clear. This isn't just like you exaggerating to make her sound like a monster. She genuinely believed that suffering made them closer to Jesus.
That's right.
So why would she alleviate their suffering?
Right.
Why not enhance it?
And she was one of the staunchest, I'm sure you'll cover this, one of the staunchest anti-abortion activists
Oh, yes.
on the planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
She lived in an overpopulated, regions that were suffering tremendously from that.
Yeah. Anyone who's been to India can see the advantages of having abortions.
So you're right. She didn't want to lessen pain. She wanted to glorify it, increase it.
That's exactly right. So, in the same way that her almighty Christian God had the ability to actually help the sick and dying, she just went out of her way not to. So,
can I just clarify something? I didn't mean, by the way, that Indians need to abort their babies because they're from India. It's just a very populous country.
Dan's alone in that particular.
That's all I was saying.
Yeah. Cody, can you put in the sound effect of me running down a hallway?
Don't. Yeah.
But there are too many people on Earth.
Yes. And most of them are in India.
Well, half are in India and China, but there are too many people anyway.
Yeah.
And it's not even, and it's less about there's too many. To me, the abortion thing in India is less about there's too many people than girls getting pregnant very young before they have a chance to get fully educated and make decisions about their own lives.
Right.
Just continues a cycle of poverty that is very fucking hard to get out of.
Yep.
Unless you give women back control over their reproductive cycles.
And to be fair, Dan, I feel the same way about Costco on a Sunday.
It just makes you feel like there should be more abortions.
There's too many Hindus. There's too many Mormons. I don't know what to do about it.
Just start aborting. Can we just start aborting and then ask questions later?
So the real question is, how did she become such a towering figure of the 20th century? And then the very term for all that is good.
Yeah, she is a synecdoche for goodness.
That's right. So,
and yes, I did use that word.
Nice.
So it is kind of a silly story. So in 1969, she was an obscure amateur human agony hobbyist in Calcutta when the BBC hired a guy called Malcolm Muggeridge to make a short documentary about her. And aside from being a fanatical Christian, he was apparently a screwball in a lot of other ways as well, not worth going into here. So anyway, he goes off to Calcutta and gets the top-tier tour from the mother herself, meaning the death houses were all scrubbed up and made to look real nice.
Sure.
His camera guy had some new low-light film from Kodak. This is 69, so a lot of this technology was just pretty new. So greatly impressed by Teresa, Muggeridge asked the cameraman to shoot in the dismal, darkened House of the Dying. The guy thought it was way too dark, but he threw in the low-light film in case it might work. So then they get back to London, and when they got it developed, they were all looking at it, all the film together in a projection room, and the cameraman was super happy the low-light film had worked as promised. Muggeridge exclaimed that it was divine light.
Oh, God.
that the strange little Albanian sadist was somehow also radioactive, like causing a visible image to appear on the negative, I guess. So, as insane as that seems, and it is, that is also the ridiculous basis for the legendary status that fast-tracked her towards a speed record-breaking sainthood.
Is it one of the miracles that they used to beatify
It was her first miracle.
Really?
Yeah.
The miracle of the visible video?
The divine light.
God,
The miracle of quick-acting silver nitrate.
Right. So Muggeridge's rosy portrait of Mother Teresa as a saintly woman made it into the Western bloodstream, and the infection spread. In the BBC documentary about her, Hitchens quotes Mark Twain quite brilliantly here. Give a man a reputation as an early riser, and that man can sleep till noon.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, this first documentary happens about her, and he just glows about her and stuff, and then he's just painted the picture for forever.
Right, and this guy Muggeridge was quite elderly at the time, and he was with the old like the British High Commission in Calcutta in like the 1930s.
Right.
So he's an old Indian Raj colonialist.
Right.
So
First Order, just they're the savages and we're the
Exactly right.
and anyone who's willing to even help them is a saint.
Right.
He's got a monocle and a mustache. That's who this guy
right.
is.
I mean, to him, it was like looking at somebody taking care of feral cats. You'd be like, "Oh, isn't that nice?"
He's the kind of guy that punctuated his sentences with the word "what."
What? He's exactly ate a riding crop. And he's exactly that guy. So, in addition to that, to the fortunate timing for Teresa of this silly documentary, there's also a truism that really was the rocket fuel for her reputation, and that is that in the Western world, in order to sleep at night, needs to think that somebody somewhere is doing something about the problems in the world.
Right.
But we don't want to think about it too much, right? So Mother Teresa was the perfect symbol for that need, and then she would ultimately become a major wash cycle for so much Western guilt. So Teresa's rising international star also happened to coincide with the appearance on the papal balcony of an arch-conservative and extremely political new pope, John Paul II. The church had been leaning ever so slightly towards liberalization in the last half of the 20th century, and John Paul was going to put a fucking stop to that shit and jam that ancient Roman bitch into reverse. But he needed a sympathetic superstar to put a kind face on so much regressive policy in order to make it more palatable.
Right.
Enter Mother Teresa. So she jetted around the world in her simple blue and white sari, the very picture of humility and piety, and with a kindly smile, she excoriated any society that tolerated abortion and birth control. So the self-professed apolitical Teresa was constantly photographed with presidents, prime ministers, and kings bending their ears and endlessly lobbying to end the scourge of birth control and abortion, even in cases of rape and incest.
And like the Dalai Lama, all of those politicians and kings and princes were lining up to get a photograph.
To get a photograph with, I mean, you got sainthood by proxy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, and she was like 3'2".
Yeah.
And when she was 13 years old, looked like your grandmother. Yeah. So like she had this grandmotherly thing. I don't know. She could have been. I'm looking at pictures of her right now, and any one of them, you can't tell if she's 40 or 90.
She's kind of a biblical figure.
She just looks, and she just played off of those grandmotherly looks.
She looks like the Virgin Mary's grandmother. Yeah.
Like if you say no to her, you feel bad just inherently.
Yeah. And she did it all with a smile.
Right.
So famously, she was at Knock in Ireland, and she asked the enormous crowd that had gathered to see her to pledge to never allow birth control or a single abortion in Ireland. And as we happily know from our Irish correspondent, Rudy, that pledge has not been carried to term.
Yay.
Largely because of arrogant Catholic scolds such as herself overplaying their hands.
Right.
So in addition to her very political little piety shtick, she was very popular with the despotic and criminal Catholic bad guys everywhere. She was famously close to the odious baby doc Duvalier.
Was she really?
Oh, yeah. They
No
were
way.
the best of friends. The second consecutive murderous dictator of the same name in Haiti. And so here's the thing. Look, there's a fuck ton of suffering in the world. So taking money from whatever asshole who wants to give it so you can make someone else's life better, I'm not really against that.
That would be a good thing if that were what was happening.
Right, and that's what the much maligned Clinton Foundation did. It took money from Saudis and what is it, like half the people who are getting AIDS treatment in Africa get it through the
Clinton
Foundation or something like
Clinton
that?
Foundation, which is going down, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Yeah. But what the Clinton Foundation doesn't offer people that Mother Teresa offered them in exchange for their dirty money was absolution.
Yeah.
So essentially a spiritual cleansing by way of the selling of an indulgence. This is made worse by the fact that she didn't really do much of anything with the money.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just a compounding of empty gestures. So she also took millions from Charles Keating, who American listeners of a certain age will recall was sent to the slammer for orchestrating a savings and loan scheme that built thousands of people out of hundreds of millions of dollars. She eagerly took advantage of his offer to use his private plane to fly all over. And when his empire imploded, she never returned the money, which was just stolen money. And in fact, when the breadth of his criminality was fully exposed, she wrote a letter to the judge in the case insisting he was a good man and should be forgiven.
Oh, that's quite an amicus brief right there.
Little weird history fact, it was Judge Ito, who was the same judge in the O.J. Simpson case.
Lance Ito. Oh, my God. That's so funny.
Random. So she was also maintaining quite an impressive trophy case, having been given the highest civilian awards in scores of countries, including India and the U.S.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like human ears or something.
No,
okay.
just she was an avid doubles tennis player. Yeah. She played with Yvonne Goolagong. So in 1979, she was given the most prestigious of them all, the Nobel Peace Prize. I have no fucking idea what they thought her contribution to world peace was, but such was her legend, right? Now, according to Teresa, in her acceptance speech, the greatest threat to peace in the world was, wait for it,
pumpkins.
Abortion.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I win.
Let's remember 1979. 1979 was near the height of Cold War tensions, with the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, proxy wars in Central America and Africa, the Khmer Rouge annihilating their own people in Cambodia, insane apartheid violence in South Africa, and tens of thousands of nukes pointed at each other all over the globe. The greatest threat to world peace was women having some control over their own bodies and futures. Sure, lady.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where anti-abortion people love to say things like, well, what if that child that you aborted
was Albert Einstein?
Or was going to be the one who cured cancer,
Which is the single dumbest argument made about anything ever.
right? Because also, what if it was Hitler?
What if it was Hitler?
What if Hitler's mom had just been like, no, not this one?
What if it was Super Del Shanzi? Then where would we be?
Local listeners just perked up right now.
Utah deep cut right there.
Little Utah kiss there. So as people lay untreated in pain in her houses of death and tens of millions of dollars languished unused in her bank accounts, poor Teresa developed heart problems.
No.
And true to her calling, and surely not to be seen as a hypocrite, she spared no expense as she traveled in private planes and commercial first class to seek the most modern and expensive treatments from the world's best doctors and hospitals.
Oh,
Fuck that.
my
Because
God.
Jesus. And just to put a little enraging icing on the whole agony cake, in letters published after her death, she frequently wrote to the Pope in her later years, expressing profound doubts in the existence of God. So the woman who smiled brightly
Oh, my God.
over people with stage 4 bone cancer as they writhed was in serious doubt about the God on whose behalf she was increasing their pain.
Jesus.
So strip away the unconscionable but tiny veneer of belief in God, in a God who demanded human suffering as sacrifice, and what's left to explain her sadism?
Albanians.
Goodbye, Albanian listeners. So anyway, that's Mother Teresa.
Wow.
Did she help some people? I mean, sure.
No, maybe.
Did she hurt some people? Abso-fucking-lutely. Did she do it for bizarre blood and torture cult reasons that she herself even doubted the point of? You bet.
Amazing.
Should she be used as the yardstick by which truly good people in this world are measured? I'm going to go with no.
Yeah, it's funny because what people think she did, because everybody that holds her up as this saint,
Yeah.
they believe that she helped poor people in India. Like, they believe that that's what she did. She nursed people who needed nursing or
Right.
whatever. She didn't, but that's what they believe she did.
Right.
So if she was the person that they thought she was, then great.
Right.
But she wasn't.
She wasn't.
She was a monster.
She was a monster, and if nothing else, she took advantage of people in terrible situations to make them secretly Catholic because love.
Yeah.
So fuck that shit. Let's move on.
All right. Hey, Uncle Mark.
Hello.
I'm just, sometimes one of the things that we haven't done on this show
Yes.
is go after comic book superheroes.
It's about fucking time. We take on Storm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's do this. God, I've been waiting
Closer
for
than
this.
you think, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess that's not really what you're going after, Doug.
Because you know what we
no.
want? We want to get rid of all the nerds that listen to us.
That-
yeah,
That's right.
fuck those guys.
Because I want to get down to single-digit listeners.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll have somebody left, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
So I thought today we could talk about, we don't spend a lot of time in the Norse world of mythology and gods. We've dabbled,
Sure.
but boy, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
But since I'm the first one to really take it on, I'm going for the big guy. I thought we could talk about Thor.
Tur.
Cody, add some lightning in there. Thank you. Good.
I think it's pronounced Tur.
It's pronounced a lot of things. Well, there's a lot of different, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Tur.
And
or Tor.
Tur.
Thor is, of course, the hammer-wielding god from Germanic and Norse mythology, primarily associated with thunder, lightning, storms, strength, and oak trees, as well as fertility, because everybody's related to fertility.
Blondness.
What? Oh,
And hot Australian arms.
Yeah, he's
know-
the only Australian Norse god, I think.
but he's not actually blonde, and we'll get to that. But
fuck me.
he's most definitely a redhead. So he is far from deceased, as he is still venerated by modern adherents of heathenry, which we don't have to dive into much now. But it is a Norse-based religion, a very new religion, practiced by, among other people, a lot of white supremacists. But we don't have to get into that
Whoa,
right now.
fun!
Yeah. As
That's
well as
delightful.
he is a major box office success in the MCU, and Thor is the origin of the weekday Thursday, which I don't know how I didn't know that, but I didn't know that.
You didn't know that.
I did not know that. So
Yeah.
learn something new.
Isn't that strange? We'll do a days of the week
Yeah, we should.
sometime because
Yeah.
it's a melange of different.
It's all over the
Yeah,
map.
English is so bizarre in that way.
Yeah.
We have some Romans. We got some a couple of these Norse ones.
couple Norse ones, yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday is his daddy.
Yep. Thor, along with his father Odin, are members of the older generation of Norse gods called the Vanir, who, as opposed to the newer generation called the Asir. These two groups of gods went to war before peace broke out, in which the Asir moved in with the Vanir. And some scholars believe that this was actually the opposite of a schism, where two competing Germanic religions merged into one.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of that.
No, you don't.
You know what we should do? Why all the fighting?
Let's merge.
You're going to get to that point where your parents move in with you, and you're just like, oh fuck, all right.
All right. We'll just
is my
believe
life
it all.
now.
We'll just believe it all.
Among the many other gods and goddesses in this pantheon, there is a goddess of love named Freya,
Yes.
Yeah.
who's pulled along in a cat-drawn chariot, for all those cat lovers out there. That's real.
And for whom Friday's named, right?
I think that's true.
Is it really?
Yeah.
God, I'm learning stuff
Is
new every day.
a kitty cat or like a Frank
no-
Frazetta painting, like
no,
big
like
fucking lion?
like house cats.
Really? Yeah. Awesome.
It's very cute.
If she could make that happen, because nobody else can.
There's another god named Ulul, who, among other things, is the god of skiing,
Nice.
and a god of poetry called Saga.
Oh, sure.
That is to say, in this mythology, in this pantheon, it is incredibly confusing and complex. Norse mythology is as complex a pantheon and mythology as any other, looking at you Aztecs. So it's a bit of a struggle to give any of their gods a consistent personality or family, but there are some recurring themes. So, and just to get this out of the way now, if there are any listeners that are expert in Norse mythology or speak any Nordic language, just know that I am going to murder all these names, much
Yes.
like Thor slaughtered the monstrous serpent Hergenmunder.
yes.
So,
Which is also those
Nailed
bunk
it.
beds I bought at IKEA.
exactly, they're all named after Norse gods. I would love that.
Norse monsters.
The Romans first encountered versions of Thor during the occupation of Germania, and using what they referred to as interpretatio romana, where they took local customs and religions and just crammed them into their own, they made Thor kind of into the god Jupiter.
Sure.
Which is interesting. And Odin became Mercury, weirdly.
That is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Odin, even though he was a monstrous warrior, all these gods are warriors. This is
Right.
a warlike pantheon.
They had
Odin
a
was-
very short growing season.
Exactly. Odin was also kind of a god of traveling and a god of knowledge, whereas Thor was just about banging shit down.
Right.
So he kind of became Jupiter in their estimation.
You know, when all you've got's a hammer.
Exactly. His popularity spread after the fall of Rome through the Germanic migration period, where he became particularly popular during the Viking Age in Scandinavia. During the Christianization of Scandinavia, people wore emblems of his hammer, Mjolnir,
Close. You almost got
Mjolnir,
it.
and stuck his name into their own personal names as a way of protesting the encroachment of the new pagan religion over their own.
Really?
That's right. I said new pagan religion.
So they would put Thor in their name?
Yeah, they would stick Thor or derivations of the name Thor into their own names. We'll talk about a couple of those. And then they would wear little hammer emblems as a little protest.
I think they should have to wear full-sized hammers.
Just those giant... his hammer in all of the depictions, not like the one in the Marvel Universe, which is great, is not as impressive as hammer. It's kind of just like a hammer you'd use to...
And did these people protesting by putting the Thor in their names have meetings that they called Hammer Time?
Oh, my God.
I'm with you. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give it to you. I don't know.
Thank you.
Stop. Hammer time.
We'll go to the judges.
Moving on. Thor has at least 15 names, such as Asabrag, Asathor, Bjorn, Hardagarder, Sonung, and Vethorm. He married the goddess Sif, but carried on a side thing with the Jutung Jarn Saksa, and he had children with both of them.
Yeah.
So,
Who's
Sexy.
a player?
we're gonna muddle our way through this next section. He rides a chariot pulled by two goats. The goats' names are Tensgrisnir.
Does anybody have a horse?
No, not a lot of horses.
He couldn't even find any cats.
Yeah.
So the other one's called Tensjortner, and he regularly ate the goats and resurrected them. Which is good work if you can get it.
if you're hungry.
Along with the hammer Mjolnir, his belt was called Meginjoro, his gloves are called Jarngripir, and his staff is called Greovor.
Why do we have to name all of the clothing items?
So
His jock was called Gurfenfluffen.
it's totally true.
What kind of fucking narcissist names their gloves?
I was trying to read some of the stories about him, and they're all complex mythologies where this character talked to this character, but all the names are like this. So it took me about an hour a paragraph. I'm just trying to okay, what?
And you have to write it down. Okay, this person
Pretty much.
is the god of the wind.
I just like the idea of being at somebody's house and being like, "Hey, can I borrow your belt?" Oh, you mean Greg?
Larry and Steven are over there. What? My gloves. By the goats.
Most of the written stories about Thor come from a series of poems and sagas in the 11th and 13th centuries, but there are written references to him as early as the 7th century CE, where he's first mentioned on a piece of jewelry in Bavaria.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's the first written reference.
Yeah.
Really?
There's oral references
that
before
late.
that. Yeah.
I'm surprised. Okay.
I think if one of our donors really wants to make me happy, mention me on jewelry. That's what I want.
The upside of this written tradition is that there's not a single scriptural text that we all have to adhere to when discussing Norse mythology, but the downside is that pretty much anyone can and has written stories about Thor. Basically, the most popular ones are the ones that became kind of revered and kind of quote-unquote canonical. Interesting side note, and I did not know this either, the swastika has been identified as an ancient Norse sun wheel and symbol of Thor.
Oh, dear.
I
don't like where this is going.
It's been found back as far as the 3rd century in Denmark, but weirdly the word swastika comes from the Sanskrit in the Indian tradition, which has the same symbol in a clockwise and counterclockwise orientation. But its link to Germanic history is what made it so tempting to Steve Bannon. Adolf Hitler. Thor has never really fallen out of fashion since he came to be, but certainly he's most well known to us from the MCU movies that bear his name, as well as the Avenger movies.
Yeah.
And that's all based on the 1962 comic book series by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby.
Peace be upon him.
Who were all very famously into drugs at the time. What's crazy is one of the biggest liberties they took when they're writing the comic book from the mythology is they actually made Thor blonde instead of a redhead. He was famously a redhead throughout his entire tenure.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Well, I think because no one would show up to see a shirtless Chris Hemsworth if he had red hair.
Right.
Really?
Gingers are gross.
Well, I mean, at least we would know he wouldn't have a soul. And
That's true.
And they couldn't shoot in daylight.
That's right.
He'd take a rash.
A great deal of the rest of the movie adaptation of Thor is pretty true to the source material, which is chaotic and crazy, but Odin's missing eye, the rainbow bridges called Bifrosts, Loki's bouncing back and forth between good to bad, Valkyries riding horses, elves, giants, Ragnarok, the nine realms, including Asgard, are all part of the actual mythology.
Right.
So there was just a very rich thing to draw from, and they thought, fuck it, If it ain't broke.
Look, all you have to do is throw a Hulk in there, and you got yourself a series.
Yeah, and even the giant zombie dog was part of the mythology.
Right. Fenrea.
Is that what?
Yeah.
Fenrea, who will be loosed in the final days for Ragnarok.
For Ragnarok.
Why aren't I doing this segment?
Right.
Aside from a small group of heathenists, what's great about this god is pretty much he's all things to all people. The fact that he's pretty much just a war beast that likes to drink makes him one of the easiest gods to translate into popular culture at any age. So that's why he's so popular and still around. So yeah. So that's kind of it. Thor. I mean,
that may be where Hemsworth falls off the wagon. Is that he actually shows emotion and caring and feeling and like.
And he's intellectual in the
as opposed to just going out like he should be the one. Thor smash. Yeah.
He's a very one-dimensional character. But there's a great one of the mythologies about Thor is his hammer is stolen by another god, and Loki tracks it down, and the god says, "I'll give you back the hammer if I can marry your gorgeous sister." And they're like, "No way!" And they have a plan. We'll dress Thor up in a wedding gown, and he'll marry this guy and steal the hammer back, and it works.
Wow,
yeah, it's hilarious.
That's the origin of Corporal Klinger in MASH. Not a lot of people knew that was a Norse character.
Thor makes a handsome woman.
Jamie Farr was a beautiful, beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's Thor, y'all.
Wow. Okay. Well, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Let's move on. Well, Uncle Dan,
Yes.
Uncle Doug,
Hello.
it is that giving time of year.
Is the most wonderful time.
Is that the Christmas song with the rapey drink bit?
No, that's the other one.
It's cold outside.
I can't tell them apart. They're all shit.
They're all kind of rapey.
Yeah, they're all kind of rapey. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh, that one's just
Think about it.
It's a bully one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So, look, any time of year is a good time of year to give to your three uncles.
Indeed.
But this time of year is especially good because a portion of our proceeds from you, the listener, goes to the FFRF, the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
Yes.
yeah, and we're going to be hearing from
Patrick Elliot?
hearing testimony from Patrick in just a minute. But
Yes.
we do have some people that we need to thank who have already started in.
Yes.
And so we want to make sure that they're on board. Want to thank Eli Bosnick is my furry little spirit animal. Thank you so much for your contribution. And he or she needs a saint, which I'm springing on you, Mark.
I think it's my turn. So this would be Saint Elizabetha of Baffin Island.
Sure. Yeah.
And Saint Elizabetha, as everybody knows, is the patron saint of those very particular spiral fluorescent bulbs.
Sure.
And also of she is the saint of St. Patrick's Day. Yeah.
Right. Not St. Patrick himself, the saint of the celebrations of the day.
It's particularly in America. So
She's the one that you pray to make sure that you're not going to vomit too hard.
Yes, her altar is a public public restroom.
Yes.
Toilet. So congratulations on that.
Lovely. Wow. That's
Yeah.
really, really fortunate. Eli Bosnick is my furry little spirit animal. You're lucky. We also need to thank Foot Seeking Lego Missile. People are getting fun with these things. Gus Bus, Donald.
Yes.
Is thanks to Donald and Douglas. You have apparently concocted a heaven.
It was given to me
for Alex
in Revelation. Alex, as time marches inexorably forward, pushing you ever closer to your last breath, take heart that your own personal heaven awaits. The moment that the last foul vapors of this earthly bondage escape your nostrils, in a 2001 flash of color and light, you will find your consciousness has expanded faster than light to encompass the entire universe.
Wow.
You will leave behind the all-too-temporary shell of decaying flesh known as Alex, and will become all X, the eternal, the all-present dance of light on the sphere of consciousness, the beginning and the end, in all places and none, a knower of thoughts and seer of sentience. Free from your mortal prison, you will be free to connect with all conscious and sentient beings all across the universe in the twinkling of an eye. In an instant, you will know the collective thoughts, desires, aspirations, and fears of every being that is aware of its own existence. You will be as a god that knows no limits and has infinite time to add to your own personal encyclopedia galactica of all knowledge that you, and only you, will have access to. Your consciousness will become the most complex, valuable, and perfect resource in all the universe as you add every living thought to your own. Like many of us who first logged onto Facebook in the early 2000s, you will be filled with wonder and anticipation as all the knowledge is at your fingertips. However, like many of us in the early 2000s found out after a few months on Facebook, knowing everyone's innermost thoughts may not be all it's cracked up to be. It turns out that the vast majority of all sentient life in the universe is shockingly racist. Another sizable percentage of the intelligent life is looking for sexy singles in their area. Many are just posting pictures of their offspring or cat videos. A surprisingly large percentage of the universe is obsessed with Ron Paul's 2012 presidential campaign. Only two things bind all conscious thought across the universe together: putting petty insults in the comment section and porn. Oh God, the porn. You will see things, all X, that quite literally cannot be erased from your memory. Cross-species BDSM, interplanetary orgies, and world-ending snuff films are just the beginning. If you think you've seen tentacle porn, just you wait. It turns out the most common appendage in the universe is an engorged tentacle, and they know how to party. You will wish to avert your eyes, but you will realize you don't have eyes or eyelids. All X, you now realize what your name really means: all the X in the universe. This is your heaven. Don't look away, because after all, you can't.
Hallelujah.
Wow. Praise be.
Glory, hallelujah, all X.
Yeah,
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, you lucky dog, you.
Yeah.
I mean, access to porn is great. That's great.
For a while.
For a bit.
Yeah, sometimes you want an off switch. Just trust me. So that's great.
I feel like we just got a real insight into what's happening in Doug's head at any given moment.
Well, it's certainly what's on his hard drive.
Yeah, right.
So if you want to join the ranks of the elect, you can certainly go to our website, click on the Patreon link.
Yeah, that's
throw every dollar your family has in there, and we'll give some of that to the FFRF.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, why not give us a 5-star review on any place that makes that available, especially iTunes. Just hit 5. Lie about us. What does it matter?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no heaven. There's no hell.
It doesn't hurt you to click 5 stars, even if you think we're a 3-star show. That doesn't hurt you. It
Doesn't
just
cost
helps.
you anything.
It just helps us.
But if you click 4, that does hurt us.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Yeah, just don't do anything. So I feel like we're scolding everyone.
Yeah,
we love you.
we are notorious scolds, so let's move on.
Let's move on. Well, fellas.
Hello.
Sometimes we want to build that wall.
Build the wall.
Yeah.
But it's a good chant.
We want to build. Yeah, it's catchy.
It's fun.
Let's see if
we
it goes
should use
anywhere.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. We want to build. We don't want to build real walls.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that just takes work.
Sometimes we want to build legal walls.
Oh.
Yeah, to protect one thing, to protect the chocolate from the peanut butter.
And the peanut butter from the chocolate.
Exactly
it goes
right.
both ways.
They're
These
both
walls
delicious, but they're better separately.
as everyone can.
I don't know where I'm going with this.
No,
but,
no. You know what we should do? We should talk to somebody else instead of us.
Yes.
Because we're worthless.
We're totally.
Well, I mean, and as our listeners know, we've started a thing for December. We're trying to raise as much money as we can for the FFRF, the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
Yes, indeed.
And rather than have us blather on about it, we actually brought someone from the FFRF to come on and tell us what it's all about. So we got Patrick Elliot to actually show up and say words to us. Patrick, welcome.
Welcome.
Oh, happy to join you.
Now, since this is a billable hour, let's kind of get through it fast, right?
Yeah, in 6-minute chunks. That's
Oh,
what it is.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's right. Well, okay, so Patrick, we've been talking about your organization for a while now. One of the things we keep mentioning that it's a very important time in our nation's history to be bolstering the wall of separation between church and state. Are we full of shit? Is it worse? It feels worse now than it has ever felt, at least in my lifetime. Would you agree with that or not?
Yeah, I think it's gotten worse in at least since the 2016 election, in part because at the federal level things have been a lot worse. A lot of the people at the highest levels of government have really tried to push religion and government and mix them together. And then the other, I guess, issue is a lot of people are less religious now, and so I think there's a kind of a hanging on of that power that people in power want to keep it, and so there's kind of a pushback at society becoming more secular generally.
So tell us about your work. You guys you're not out there trying to tell everybody that they have to not be Christian anymore, despite what plenty of people would claim about you. So what is it that you guys do?
Well, we really do two things at FFRF. One is to work to keep state and church separate. That's what I do, and that's what our legal department does. But we do also try to educate the public about non-theism, and oftentimes that's just letting people know that, hey, we're here, we're people in the U.S. and what we we don't believe in a God, and that's okay.
Is it though? I mean,
what stops you from murdering people?
Why are there still monkeys? But so what, right now it's the holiday season, and the sort of out front and center stories that are happening on that front all seem to revolve around, Jesus and Mary and Joseph on the state grounds and that sort of thing. And that seems like, that's one fight. And we should probably talk about it. You guys have been front and center on that fight.
In the war on Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. So why is it so important to either get Jesus off the state grounds or allow Satan on?
Right. We just want the government to not be involved with religion. And so actually, I think the best solution is to not open up, a forum for people to put these types of things on the government property. But you're right. If they do, that's where FFRF or the Satanic Temple and groups can put up their own displays. And really, and I know some people maybe roll their eyes at these, kind of fights, but they are symbolic. Obviously, the state capitol buildings, there's groups out there trying to put religious displays, nativity scenes in all these state capitals because they think that's important. Obviously, they could put these across the street at any church they want. Right. But they want the government and religion. They want the weight of the government to be behind religion. And so I do think, that's worth groups and individuals pushing back and making sure that the government's not taking sides on a religion issue.
Well, it's interesting that you call it symbolic, and I think that you're right to do so because in the end, if there's a Christmas tree at my state capitol, I'm not going to be that pissed about it. It's a pretty thing, and even if there's a manger scene, it's it doesn't do me that much harm, but there's a larger issue at play.
Right, and I think, Patrick, you were saying symbolic. And I think there's a presumption that the other side is acting in good faith when it's just an innocent thing that they want to put a nativity scene in the state capitol or the courthouse. But really, to my estimation, that's a provocative act as much as the Satanic Temple responding to that as a provocative act. These are Christians saying, no, the government will reflect our particular values and no others.
Right, and we see this besides just the temporary and holiday displays. In the permanent monuments. I've always kind of termed it as territory marking, marking the government building as a religious place or affiliating it with Christianity specifically. So that's why, I kind of use those two terms, either symbolic or marking territory as being a religious place.
Yeah, it's one of those things where somebody walks into, if you walk into a courthouse and there's a symbol of a specific religion that isn't yours hanging over the doorway or posted prominently on the wall, you're not going to feel like you're going to get the a fair trial there.
Yeah, you're being sent a message, in my opinion, if you're not a Christian, another religion, or specifically a non-believer.
Right, and these things get thrown back at us all the time with if In God We Trust is on our currency, they'll then use that to justify other violations. And so we think, the small violations are worth stopping or neutralizing, again, with other messages being put out there.
And I think that's intentional, the Under God and the Pledge of Allegiance and In God We Trust on the money. These are all newer additions to those things that I think are part of a larger strategy that can just encroach and encroach and encroach. And if we don't fight those battles, they will continue to do that.
Exactly.
So I don't know if you're aware of what's going on here in Utah, but we don't have so much a separation of church and state as we just don't have a state. I think you guys should really look into that.
Yeah, we need you to move from Madison, Wisconsin.
The church has a road department here.
Yeah, you're going to really need to relocate to Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
But what's the front lines for you guys right now? Is it south, north? Is it across? Is it everywhere at once? What's kind of the hot spot that you guys are really active in?
I think a lot of people assume the South is where the worst violations come from, and I think they are more prevalent there. But,
it does feel like Roy Moore might have been the epicenter for a while there.
Right, and actually we have a history going back, I think, to the early '90s of fighting him when he was a trial court judge there, and he's obviously had his career that we had been involved in pushing back. But so I mean, we do have problems out of places like Alabama, but. One of the cases we've had recently that was a pretty big success was out of New Jersey. They have a state constitution that prohibits funding or repair of churches, and Morris County, New Jersey, had spent, I think, over a few-year period, about $5 million to repair churches under a historic preservation program. And so we won at their state Supreme Court a unanimous decision saying that, in fact, the New Jersey Constitution says you can't fund these. So it's not just one area in the country. It's kind of all over the place. But I do think some of the violations in the South are the more egregious violations and the more prevalent that people just have come to, or even maybe people in Utah have kind of come to expect state church to be merged. And so they're just not even pushing back as much as if that same violation were to happen in New York or California, for instance.
What are some of the more egregious violations of the church-state separation that you guys have had to encounter recently?
Well, one case that I've worked on for a couple of years now, but was actually just argued in the appeals court just this September, is out of West Virginia. Mercer County Schools has Bible classes. They've had those for over 70 years.
Jesus.
We requested documents to take a look at what does this curriculum really look like, and it's as bad as you'd think for a West Virginia Bible class in a public school to elementary school students. So it starts in first grade, but one of the lessons talks about having the kids imagine what it would be like to slide down the back of a dinosaur like Adam and Eve would have done.
What? To be fair, I think about that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fun thing to imagine.
So worse than it just being a straight Bible class, it's not even a fucking accurate Bible class.
Yeah,
it's just
wait a minute.
garbage.
You don't remember in Genesis chapter 22 the sliding down?
Well, most of the dinosaurs are actually in Revelation.
Oh, that's true.
They're the other end of the book. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
So I think the problem with teaching, how do you teach a first grader the Bible is they have to go to these other devices to get them to imagine things, and it becomes kind of a fairy tale world, and it obviously shows the elements of some of these creationism that they're trying to push. You really can't teach.
And these are fully
the
public
Bible.
schools.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep, it's an entire school system in West Virginia. That case has been going on for I think about 2 years now. And again, we're at the appeal level on more of a technical issue as to whether a parent whose child was experiencing this had a number of problems trying to get her child not to be involved in these classes, and so she made the decision to send her child to a neighboring school system, which is obviously a big burden to do. And so the courts have to decide, well, can she still have standing to challenge the class? And so we obviously think, this is avoidance. This person's avoiding an ongoing problem. Of course, she should be able to challenge those classes.
Yeah, that word standing can really be a bugaboo, can't it?
Right. We've had a fight in a lot of our cases on it. And sometimes the courts gravitate towards it because they don't want to rule on, controversial things like, Mike Newdow's famous case on the Pledge of Allegiance that went to the Supreme Court. It's easier to punt it away on an issue like standing rather than, ruling on kind of the meat of it.
Right. So that brings me to one thing that I think might be important, which is that you guys just on your own can't go into some other state and file a lawsuit necessarily. You have to have someone who's local to the area who has some sort of standing to be the plaintiff. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And that's always, and maybe you hear this in the news stories or the comments, which you shouldn't read, of course. Everybody says, well, this out-of-state group is involved. And really, legally, we couldn't be involved without local people. In some of our cases, including our school cases, we have to protect those people, too. So they may be a Doe plaintiff, for instance, using a pseudonym in pursuing it, but there's still an actual family involved in challenging it. And so that's really the case in any of our cases. So it's a pretty bad argument to push back against us when we're just an organization trying to help the local people who presumably wouldn't have the knowledge or resources to do that on their own.
Right.
And as you were alluding to there, a lot of these people are in small communities. A lot of these cases happen in small communities where if they're a non-believing family or a non-Christian family, for instance, they might be the only ones. And so there's a real risk to them in, deciding to move forward with this stuff, right?
Right. And I mean, just to give you an example, in one of our cases in recent years out of Indiana, and this was a school case, we had pseudonyms used to try to protect our plaintiffs because obviously it'd be hard to continue the school year with the whole school against you on a religious issue. But one of my fellow attorneys received a threatening letter basically saying, I'm going to, cut you up and put you in the Elkhart River. It must be Elkhart, Indiana, is where the community is. And so, obviously, I see why people in the community don't want to be known to be involved because you're going to get that type of threatening response.
I've always been impressed by that Christian message of love.
Right?
Yeah, there's so much hypocrisy in the work we do. I don't even know. It just doesn't. I don't even consider that. Now, obviously, they're trying to. This was about trying to keep a big segment in the school program at Christmas time. Had a huge live nativity scene, and they would actually read some Bible passages during it. And so that's what they were defending. And in defending that, they're basically, committing a felony by threatening a lawyer who's just trying to help out
with murder
the family. Yeah, right.
It is kind of crazy, but that is one of the problems of the work that you do, and what is that a lot of people, as you say, don't want to wade into it because they're afraid of the reaction of the community around them, and the reaction is so strong and vitriolic. I mean, because people don't see it as I'm trying to maintain a separation between church and state. All I want is for you to be able to practice your religion as you please, and then not foist it on me. But they don't see it that way. They see it as an attack on the religion itself. How do you manage that? Do you guys do anything to try and
educate
and keep that sort of crazy sense that you're attacking religion at bay?
I mean, I think that is a big part of the messaging that we try to use and make clear that we want a government that's not involved with religion, which in fact, is good for religious people. They shouldn't want the government, taking sides on religious issues or taking, one interpretation of the Jesus birth narrative when we know the Bible itself has different versions of that. But I don't think, my honest opinion is I don't think people give it that much thought. I think it's much more at a just basic level. We've bothered them by somehow questioning that this should be done. And a lot of times these things are really embedded traditions in communities. And so I think that's the other thing. How dare you, come in and try to change something we've been doing forever, when the reality is, if you're violating the Constitution, you should have stopped a long time ago. Why are you still why are you still going at it? So I do think it's a challenge separating the legal issue from purely, somebody's opinion on the actual religious matter at hand. But I think there's just a lot more psychological issues going on that even go beyond the religion. I think people just want to keep things that they've been doing. They just don't ever want to stop. They want to keep their local traditions.
Well, I think what you said is spot on. I think it should be the motto for religion. Don't give it too much thought.
Yeah. And, it's funny I don't know if you've had many cases here in Utah, but we're constantly, the church-state fight here is a daily knife fight. And what is most as an atheist, what's kind of baffling to me watching specifically Mormons fight institutional Mormonism fight to do away with the church-state separation is Mormons are among the Christian community in the United States, they're a tiny minority, and they're kind of despised by, mainline evangelical Christians. So church-state commingling nationally would not be favorable to them. And it's very hard to get people to understand that, once they've dispatched us progressive, non-believing atheists or whatever, they're going to go after each other with brickbats.
Right, this kind of fits the mold of everybody, likes state church separation when they're the minority religion, and then when that flips, it's out the window. I mean, that's true even for some of the early colonies in the United States that were fleeing, various forms of persecution. They were quick to set up state religion, and then having splintered up, other groups splintering off from those. So I think it's interesting because at least I had been told, and you all would know better than me on this, but that at least within the church, there are some precepts that are supportive of state church separation. Maybe it's not implemented in Utah, but I guess.
Well, and you're absolutely right. It comes from a time when the Mormons were a despised and persecuted minority out there in the Midwest, that they kind of injected into their religion these tenets about making sure the state and the church were separated, that when they got to their own state, they started to think better of.
Yeah. So, it's all fun and games until somebody else has power. It does seem like if any of these Christians thought for even a moment about what would happen if their state suddenly became majority Muslim and they were in the minority, they would suddenly have a real respect for the church-state separation laws.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that's one. That's the the one I'm loath to mention because there's obviously a fear of Muslims that, in the religious right at least, is not founded in what's actual reality in this country. But certainly, having people imagine what it'd be like to be on the other side, should be persuasive. Obviously, it doesn't work often.
Yeah. Right. If the number of things that should be persuasive ever actually were persuasive, we'd be in a different world.
Yeah, you'd be out of a job.
Talk to our listeners about what they can do to join the good fight, to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Well, there's a few things. I mean, first, and I say this regardless of my own financial interest, but I would say to join groups that you agree with. And maybe for younger people, that's not a thing that they're used to doing because of social media. It's easy to like things, but actually, pony up the money, join groups like the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the ACLU, and other groups. And I say that in part because you become invested in what those groups are doing. You now should have a say in how they're operating. And also, it gives those groups power. We can say, I think we have about 32,000 members nationally right now. It should be a lot higher than that. Certainly, the more people we have, the more convincing that can be to both state and federal officials when we're speaking on behalf of a bigger group.
Absolutely.
The second thing I would say is that people shouldn't be afraid of activism. People will like it when hearing from you. You may not want to call your congressman's office or your local city council person's office, but being out there certainly helps keep state and church separate and helps the cause.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't know about these two deadbeats, but my wife and I are members of your fine organization.
I'm a member of the Freedom for Religion Foundation.
Oh, damn!
I think I checked the wrong box. I got to go back and look at the paperwork, but yeah,
you're an old guy. Internet's hard for you.
It is hard.
Well, Patrick, thank you so much for coming on to the show. We're certainly doing whatever we can to support you. Let us know if there's more that we can do here at our fine show. It's a really important show we have, so we'll do what we can.
Thank you, and thanks for your endorsement.
Good luck in Wisconsin. It's just a stupid, shitty mess up there.
We'll get a new governor next year, so that'll be great.
Well, we don't get to look down our nose at many states often. So.
All right. Well, thanks so much, and hopefully we'll have you on another time sometime.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you. Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at howtoheretic.com.
Or if you have a hammer, you can leave us a voicemail about it at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. We're also on Twitter at HowToHeretic and Facebook.
Yeah, hey, thanks again to all of our patrons who are helping us to fill the coffers over there at the FFRF.
And thanks so much to Cody Layton for editing the show.
Thanks all of y'all for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
Ta-ta!